In the countryside, there is a village so small that everyone knows everyone else by name. In its one school, a class is waiting for the morning lesson, and the teacher walks in and asks them what they dream of becoming. One by one, the students answer. One wants to drive a truck, another wants to paint. One of the girls says she wants to keep a house and raise a family. Nobody says anything bigger than that, because in this village, nobody ever does. Then it is Ohm's turn. He says he wants to transfer to a famous school in the city, graduate from it, and go on to university. The whole classroom bursts out laughing. Not just the students. The teacher laughs too. She tells him in front of everyone that they live in a village so small it does not show up on a map, a place known for exactly one thing, which is that nobody ever leaves it. Ohm does not sit down. He tells her that dreaming is nothing to be ashamed of, and that the only shameful thing is giving up before you try. The teacher mocks him harder, tells him to go home and sleep it off, then turns her back and goes back to her food. After class, Ohm sits down with his 3 closest friends. Kiao is the loud one who is convinced he is the most charming person alive. Offie lives inside his phone and his games. Moo is the quiet one who hates trouble of any kind. All 4 are furious, and not one of them is willing to let it go. They have a single rose with them, and they turn it into a test. There is an old statue near the field. They agree that if the rose lands on the statue's head, it is a sign they are meant to succeed. Ohm throws first, and it lands perfectly. His friends tell him it was luck and line up to prove it. One after another, every single throw lands. They stare at each other, then start cheering because now it feels like more than luck. That night, all 4 of them fill out applications to a famous school in the city. They promise each other they will study together, pass together, and walk into that school together. What follows is nothing but studying, morning, night, quizzing each other until the words stop making sense. Then exam day arrives and all 4 are terrified. They tell each other they have already done everything they could, then they walk in and work through the paper calmly. A week later, they crowd into Kiao's house to check the results, and naturally this is the exact moment his phone dies. Ohm pulls out his own phone, loads the results page, and freezes. All 4 of them passed, and they passed with high scores. The house erupts. They are going to the city. They have just done something nobody from this village has ever done. Before they leave, the village grandmother tries to give them a farewell ritual, and she delivers it so intensely that all 4 of them quietly slip out and leave her standing there. They end up by the river instead, saying their dreams out loud. University, making something of themselves, and, obviously, getting engaged one day. The next morning, the entire village walks them to the bus. To everyone standing there, these 4 boys are a miracle. They wave from the window as the bus pulls out and everything feels perfect. They ride into the city and take a taxi to their new school. The driver keeps glancing at them in the mirror, and when he drops them off, he tells them to take care of themselves. It is a strange thing to say to 4 excited students. Then they walk through the gates and they understand it instantly. The place is full of thugs. Students are shoving each other, shouting, throwing punches in the open, and nobody around them seems bothered. They check their names on the admission lists, and that is when the truth hits. On the application form, they made one mistake. One wrong letter. Instead of the famous academic school they had been dreaming about for months, they applied to a completely different school, one famous across the city for its gangs. Here the system is simple. You either hit or you get hit. This is where everything changes. This is Don't Touch My Gang. A group of bullies spots the new arrivals and comes over to welcome them, which at this school means beat them up. All 4 run for their lives and hide in an empty classroom. Ohm tries to find a way to transfer, and every site he needs is blocked. He suggests going home to the village, but then all 4 of them remember the laughter in that classroom and picture walking back in as failures. So Ohm makes the call. They stay in this school until they succeed, whatever it takes. The next day, they walk in shoulder to shoulder, braced for anything. What they were not braced for is the entire school fighting at once. They get caught right in the middle with nowhere to run. One of them takes a brick to the stomach, and the only strategy left is to drop to the ground and play dead until it is over. When it stops, they find a teacher and try to explain what just happened. He is not interested in the slightest. He tells them this is completely normal here and sends them off to class, so they go looking for friends who might back them up. The problem is that everyone in this school looks like they could break a chair over your head. Kiao decides girls are the safer option and walks over to a group of them with total confidence. They turn out to be more dangerous than the boys. They flip him onto the ground, take his money, and he escapes only because he runs. Later, they go into the school restaurant and sit at an empty table, and almost immediately every student in the room is staring at them. A bully explains why. That table belongs to Bank, the strongest student in the school and the leader of the biggest gang, and the only way to claim it is to fight him and win. All four panic and dive under the tables. Then Bank walks in and spots them anyway. He counts to 3, and because he won a bet earlier and is in a good mood, he lets it slide when they scramble up and show him respect, but if he catches them near his seat again, they will regret it. They end up sitting outside, starving, too scared to go back in. Luckily, Kiao brought food from the village. He shares it around, and for about 20 minutes, everything is fine. Then they walk into class, and all 4 of them feel their stomachs turn at once. The food was spoiled. They sprint for the bathroom, find it packed, and improvise. One ends up in the girls' bathroom, another goes behind a tree. Ohm runs door to door until he finds an empty one, not realizing it is the gang leader's private bathroom. Bank finds him there and loses it completely. He decides to make an example out of him. Ohm shuts his eyes and waits for the hit, and instead he hears a thud. When he opens his eyes, Bank is unconscious on the floor and somebody is walking away. Ohm calls out to thank them, and that is when he realizes the person who just knocked out the strongest student in the school is a girl. And she is beautiful. He tries to ask her name, but by the time he gets to the hallway, she has vanished. Meanwhile, other students walk in and find Bank flat on the ground with Ohm standing next to him. They reach the only conclusion that makes sense to them. Ohm did it. Within minutes, they decide he is the new leader of the school. He tries to explain that he never touched anybody, and nobody lets him finish a sentence. He goes home that night and cannot stop thinking about the girl who saved him. The next morning, he tells his friends everything, including the part where Bank is definitely coming back for revenge. They comfort him by saying it was very nice knowing him and offering him their food so he has enough strength to survive the beating. Kiao at least has a plan and gives him a new hairstyle and glasses as a disguise. Ohm walks into school feeling invisible, and every single student recognizes him instantly. They carry him into the restaurant and sit him at the leader's table, because as far as they are concerned, he earned it. A bully tells him Bank is too humiliated to come back and warns that anyone can challenge him for the title at any time. Ohm is about to confess the whole thing right there. Then he looks around and sees the way everyone is looking at him. Respect. Real respect, for the first time in his life. So he keeps the secret. Halfway through the meal, he spots the girl who saved him in the same restaurant. He goes over to talk, and she disappears again before he gets a word out. Later, a group of bullies barges into class wanting to fight him for the title, and one of them warns that if he runs, the whole school will decide he is a coward. Ohm is frozen. Then he sees the girl walk past outside and grabs the excuse to chase after her. She slips under a closed door like a ninja and is gone in a second. Exhausted, they give up and go to the restaurant to rest. And there she is, working behind the counter. Her name is Vivi. They ask her to join their group and protect them from the gangs, and she insists she knows nothing about fighting. Ohm runs out of patience and says out loud, in a full restaurant, that he watched her knock out the biggest bully in the school. Vivi goes pale and begs him to be quiet, because if her boss hears it, she will be fired. Then she slides them a note warning them never to mention it again. Outside, Kiao insists they do not need her at all, because the whole school is scared of them now. To prove it, he throws his shoe at a random student. They brace for a fight, and instead the student picks the shoe up and politely brings it back because he assumes Kiao belongs to a powerful gang. Ohm tells him never to do that again, which is why, 10 minutes later, Kiao goes off to charm a group of girls, gets caught by their classmates, and comes back with his face completely rearranged. He admits Ohm was right. They need Vivi, and they need her fast, so they start following her around school. She heads toward a deserted corner of the grounds, and for a second they think she has set a trap for them. Then a group of thugs appears and tries to drag her away. Does not think. He steps in front of her and warns them to back off, and they beat him to the ground in seconds. So Vivi has no choice. She turns around and takes the entire group apart, including their leader. Everyone watching is stunned. Asks how on earth she does it. Instead of answering, she leads them to an abandoned building. They assume this is where she hides, and she explains this is where she trains, in secret, every day. She sits down and cleans the cuts on his face, and it hits him that underneath the tough act, she is genuinely kind. Then she shows them a photo of her grandfather. He taught her taekwondo and asked her to defend anyone who needed her, and when he died, she decided to carry out that wish. She also admits she was glad tried to protect her, even though it did not work at all. They ask why she hides all of it. Any boy who finds out she is a trained fighter becomes afraid of her and keeps his distance. That is why she trains where nobody can see her, and why she needs them to keep her secret. All four are moved by her story, and they ask her to join the group. She refuses immediately because she does not want problems. They keep pushing until she gives in just to make them stop. They celebrate like they won a championship. The next day, they invite her over to thank her. While they wait, they scroll through her social media and start convincing each other that a girl this dangerous might be planning to kidnap them. Then Vivi walks in, hears every word, and warns them never to talk about her like that again. She sits down anyway, and they tell her their story. 4 boys from a village who came here to get into university. She is surprised that not one of them can fight. They tell her they are not looking for a bodyguard, they just want to be her friends, and they put her favorite food in front of her. For the first time in a long time, someone has accepted her exactly as she is, and that is when she decides to protect them. They walk into school the next morning with real confidence, and a thug immediately challenges them to fight his entire gang. Kiao, suddenly not scared of anything, accepts on everyone's behalf and sets a date. Asks what he thinks is going to happen when the 4 of them show up and get flattened. Kiao says not to worry because he has a plan. The plan is Vivi. They arrive at the playground and find the thug waiting with his whole gang. Kiao announces that does not fight people at this level and that his assistant will handle it instead. Vivi steps forward with her face covered, and the entire gang laughs at the idea of fighting a girl. One of them swings at her, and she hits him once and sends him flying. After that, it stops being funny. They surround her, and she works through all of them until the few still standing are begging her to stop. And his friends run over to thank her, and she is not in the mood. She tells them plainly that she is not fighting their battles every time they open their mouths, and if they pull this again, she will not come. Then she walks off angry. Back in class, they try to make it up to her. One brings her juice, another massages her shoulders, a third fans her with a book. She cannot stand any of it. She tells them to learn to rely on themselves because she is done protecting them. Cannot let it end like that. And while he is trying to figure out how to stay friends without depending on her, the answer lands in his lap. After school, he takes his friends to the warehouse, and Vivi asks what they want. Asks her to teach them to fight so they can defend themselves, and in that moment, she remembers her grandfather asking her to help anyone in need. She agrees. She starts them on the basics of taekwondo and drills one idea into them above everything else, which is that they have to stay calm if they want to beat anybody. She shows them no mercy, because getting used to being hit is the only way any of this works. They walk into school the next day looking destroyed. The other students take one look at the bruises and assume they came straight out of a fight and won it. Suddenly, people are approaching them, handing them gifts, and asking them for protection. That gives an idea much bigger than survival. He tells his friends he wants to change the system in this school and end the fighting completely. A bully called Bass overhears and explains what that would take. They would have to defeat every gang in the school, and there are 2 left. The first is a group of thugs trained in boxing and wrestling. The second is a group of idle students who quietly control the school's rules from behind the scenes. Ohm tells his friends they need a lot more training, and they are still aching, so they scatter and look for easier ways to make allies. One approaches a group of students playing games, and they take one look at his bruised face, assume he is a thug, and run. Kiao tries to charm some girls with juice and sweets, and they ignore him completely, so Ohm trains alone. Vivi teaches him new moves, and he copies her until he cannot stand up anymore. Afterwards, they sit and talk, and she tells him she liked a boy in her class once, and when he found out how strong she was, he got scared and ended it. That was the day she decided to hide who she was. Ohm tells her that he is going to change this school, ban the fighting, and turn it into a place where she never has to hide again, and nobody has any reason to be afraid of her. Vivi looks at him differently after that. She promises she will stay by his side and help him do it. And somewhere in that conversation, he starts falling for her. Then Bass finds them with bad news. A powerful gang has heard what they did and wants to fight them. The next day, that gang puts their photographs up on the wall so every student can identify them and demands a date. If the four of them stall, their reputation is finished. They work out very quickly that they cannot survive this alone. They need numbers, so they split up and go through the school recruiting. Offie challenges a group of students playing. If he wins, they join his team. They assume he is a beginner. He is not. He takes all of them apart without breaking a sweat, and they are so impressed that they sign up just to learn from him. Kiao spots the gang hunting him and hides behind a tree. When they leave, he notices a few students watching him and starts acting like a natural-born leader. He orders them to bring him a motorcycle and teach him to ride it, and they are far too scared to say no. Kiao gets on, feels incredible for about 4 seconds, then crashes. The owner shows up and the students scatter. Kiao starts posturing because the owner turns out to be a beautiful girl called Fa. She is also extremely strong. She grabs him by the collar, hits him hard enough to make her point, and warns him that if he touches her motorcycle again, she will break his face. Kiao is barely listening. He has already fallen in love. That leaves Ohm, who walks into the science room and finds it full of quiet students studying. A girl called Nam asks what he wants, and he tells her the truth. He wants people to join him so he can change the system, end the bullying, and let everyone study in peace. Nam is surprised because she assumed he was one of the bullies. Then she leads him to a hidden part of the school where a large group of students has been staying out of the way of the gangs for years. Ohm realizes he was never the only one who wanted this. He asks them to join him, promises nobody will bully them again, and they agree. He walks out happier than he has been in months, and that is exactly when the gang hunting him spots him alone. They grab him and haul him to an old warehouse to beat him. Ohm genuinely believes this is the end. Then the lights go out, Vivi has cut them, and she moves through the entire gang in the dark before they can work out what is happening, then pulls Ohm out and gets him clear. He thanks her, then asks whether she has been watching him this whole time. Vivi gets flustered, changes the subject immediately, and tells him to start practicing the techniques she taught him. The next day, he calls a meeting for everyone who joined him, and nobody shows up. The rival gang shows up instead, laughs at him for having no followers, and gets ready to attack. Ohm squares up next to Vivi anyway, and then, one after another, every single person he recruited walks in behind him. The rival gang takes one look at the numbers and runs. Standing there, surrounded by people who chose him, Ohm feels something he has never felt before. He is not alone. He asks his friends what they should call themselves, and they land on the Geek gang. The next morning, the whole group follows him everywhere, and he hates the attention so much that he escapes to the restaurant, where gang members keep bringing him food anyway. He snaps and tells them he built this gang to change the rules and wants to be treated like one of them. They do not believe a word of it. A group of thugs walks in wanting to fight him, and before he can panic, the same students who were annoying him 5 seconds earlier stand up and drive the thugs straight out. Bass reassures him that nobody is going to touch him now. They also learn something useful. Bank, the leader everyone believes Ohm defeated, put himself in the hospital riding his own scooter, which is why his gang fell apart. Bass tells Ohm the group he actually needs to worry about is the idle gang. So Om goes to look at them, and they are not what he expected. They look sweet. He stands there wondering whether he is supposed to fight them or just go home. That night, he decides to make a pact with the idol gang's leader, a student called Prem, so the two groups never have to fight. He sends Moo, the one who hates violence, because this is a conversation, not a fight. Moo goes looking for him and is about to give up when Prem walks in and asks why he has been asking around, which is terrifying for about 3 seconds. Then Prem recognizes him from class, buys him a juice, and walks outside with him. They start talking properly, and it goes well. On the way, Prem stops to walk an elderly woman across the road, explaining that he tries to be a good person. Then a stray cat wanders over and he freezes and backs away in terror. The most feared student in the school is scared of animals, and from that moment the two of them are close. At the same time, Offie gets dragged into a team challenge against a gang from the school. His whole team gets wiped out, leaving him alone against all of them, and he wins the entire thing by himself. The crowd goes wild. On his way out, a girl called Ploy stops him, tells him she loves the way he plays, and gives him her number. Meanwhile, Om goes to the warehouse to train and finds it empty. On his way out, he spots Vivi outside, standing with a young man called Ken. He immediately assumes it is her boyfriend, and it lands like a punch. He turns around and leaves them to it, which is how 3 gang members find him walking alone. They jump him, and for a moment he holds his own using what Vivi taught him, but they are bigger, and there are 3 of them. They drag him out of sight and pull out a phone to film him, so the whole school can see how weak the great leader really is. And then, the same as always, Vivi arrives. She goes through all 3 of them, takes their phone, and walks Om back to the restaurant. Her father sees the state of his face and works out he was fighting thugs. He tells Om he worries about his daughter constantly and asks him to look after her because she is just a girl. Om has to work very hard not to laugh because the truth is the exact opposite. Vivi sits with him and cleans up his face again, and he is so moved by how much she cares that he decides this is the moment. He is going to tell her how he feels. He opens his mouth and his phone rings. It is Kiao, calling from a race where he is supporting Fa. He made a sign with her name on it, which gets her attention and also destroys her concentration. She loses, then storms over, accuses him of doing it on purpose, and tells him to stay away from her. At the same time, Prem gets a photo on his phone showing that Moo belongs to a gang at school. He panics, assumes the whole friendship was a setup, apologizes quickly, and runs off. A few days later, the 4 friends go to the beach, and for the first time in a long time, they are just happy. They talk about how far they have come, and of course they talk about girls. Om admits he has fallen for a strong girl, and nobody needs to ask which one. They tell him to go and confess already. The next morning he arrives at school and finds a huge crowd of students waiting to join his gang. Bass explains that word has spread and all of them want to help end the fighting. Om decides that with numbers like this, they can take on every gang left. Kiao works out that the thing Fa loves most is her bike, so he takes it and has a faster engine fitted so she can win her next race. She turns up convinced it has been stolen, then spots him next to it with a mechanic. She is thrilled, and still herself, so she smacks him with a pen and warns him never to touch her bike again. Then she invites him to watch her race. Back at the apartment, he brags that he is the first one in the group to get somewhere with a girl, until Offie silently holds up a long stream of messages from Ploy. That night, Offie goes to see her, and she invites him up to her room, where he finds 4 other guys sitting there with controllers. She invited him over to play. He beats every one of them, and they are so impressed that they invite him to join their team for a national tournament. The next day, Om tells Vivi something he has never told anyone. His older brother Ek left the village years ago, and nobody has heard from him since, and nobody knows whether he is even alive. Vivi does not hesitate. She takes a photo of Ek and starts showing it to every customer in the restaurant, and she promises Om she is staying with him until they find him. He is so grateful that he decides, once again, that this is the moment. And before he can say anything, she tells him she wants to leave the gang. She explains that she wants to live like any other girl her age, and that she wants to be with the guy she likes. It stops him cold. Vivi is the first girl he has ever felt anything for, and he has to decide in about 2 seconds that respecting what she wants matters more than what he wants. So he lets it go. Meanwhile, off he goes to school to meet Ploy and walks straight into a gang fight. He tries to apologize his way out, and they attack him anyway. In the middle of it, he wraps his arms around Ploy to shield her, and somebody hits him in the back of the head. He drops. They rush him to the hospital. Ohm and the others find out what happened, and it makes them furious because out of all of them, he is the one who never wanted any part of this. They decide somebody is going to pay for it. The next day, they gather everyone they have and march on the idol gang. Both sides are seconds from tearing into each other when the principal's voice comes over the loudspeakers. The school is introducing a new system. Fighting is banned, and instead there is going to be a competition. The rules are simple. 2 gangs enter, they compete on stage, and the losing side is expelled from the school. Kiao does not accept any of it and tries to start on Prem right there until he spots the principal watching him. He instantly pretends he was practicing his moves and announces, very loudly, that he will be first to sign up. At the hospital, Offie wakes up from a nightmare about the gang that put him there. Then he sees his friends around the bed and calms down. They tell him about the competition and show him a video from the team he once carried, thanking him for standing up for them. He tells them that the second he gets out, he is competing with them. Ohm goes off with Kiao and Mu to practice, and they discover very quickly that not one of them has any idea what they are doing. Luckily, Bass steps in and offers to teach them because it turns out he is genuinely talented at this, and he tells each of them to find a girl to partner with. Ohm knows exactly who he wants. He asks Vivi during physics class. She says no. He asks again and again, and he keeps pestering her until he grabs hold of a live wire and gets a shock. Vivi kicks him clear on instinct, then realizes she has no choice and agrees. Ohm is so happy he almost forgets he was just electrocuted. Mu goes to spy on the idol gang rehearsing. They catch him and drag him inside, and he calmly insists he was only passing by, then tells them that he and his friends are going to take first place, and walks out. For a partner, he ends up in front of Jib, one of the toughest girls in the school. He begs her not to hit him, then asks properly, and she decides he is handsome enough and agrees. Ohm takes Vivi to the warehouse and discovers a small problem. She cannot dance, not even a little. He sits there completely stuck, watching her go through her training routine, and then it clicks. He starts turning her fighting movements into steps, building the whole routine around the strikes and blocks she already knows, and it works. Kiao stops Fa on the road, offers her a rose, and asks her to be his partner, and she turns him down flat and rides away. The next day, she finds posters all over the school announcing that he will not give up until she says yes. She comes back, and instead of hitting him, she agrees to dance with him. Ohm and Vivi keep working, and the two of them start to move like they were built for it. Then her phone buzzes with a message from Ken, and she leaves in the middle of practice to go meet him. Ohm is left standing there, and it hurts more than he expected. The day of the competition arrives. Everyone gathers, the excitement is huge, and then the doors open, and Tor, the leader of the thug gang, walks in. The whole school freezes because nobody expected him back. Kiao mocks him for showing up alone, but word spreads within minutes and students pour in from every direction to crowd around him. He tells them he is bringing back the old system, that fighting is returning, and that his goal is to control every school in the city. A huge number of students join him on the spot. Afterwards, Ohm and his friends visit Offie in the hospital. He asks them to stay the night, then Ploy turns up and he cheerfully informs them they can all go home. They laugh and give him the room. On the way out, they hear their own gang members have been attacked. They rush over and find out Tor demanded they join him, and when they refused, he beat them. Ohm is furious. He also notices members of the idol gang have been hurt the same way. So he asks to speak to their leader and offers an alliance to bring the thugs down. Prem refuses because he assumes Om is trying to absorb his gang and take control of it. Then a cat walks between them and Prem goes rigid with fear. Om quietly picks the cat up and carries it away. It is a small thing, but it tells Prem everything he needed to know. He admits he was wrong about him and agrees to the pact, and from that day the two of them are working together to take the school back. The next day, Offie is discharged and everyone celebrates. Then he tells them his news. He has a tournament to prepare for, which means living with Ploy for 2 months so the team can train together. His friends are gutted, but they push him to go and chase it. When they get to school, it is empty. Not a single student anywhere. The shop owner nearby tells them everybody is hiding because the thugs have been beating people for sport. Om tells his friends that from now on, nobody goes anywhere alone. About 2 minutes later, Kiao gets a message from Fa asking to meet, and he forgets that agreement instantly and goes. She has heard what is happening at school, and Kiao assumes she is scared and starts promising to protect her. She tells him she is not worried about herself, she is worried about him, and that he and his friends can call her any time and she will stand with them. Kiao already knew she was strong, now he knows she is kind, and right there he decides to propose. At the same time, Offie says goodbye to his old team. He braces for them to be angry that he joined another team, and instead they tell him they are proud of him and say they will always support him. Later, the bullies from his own gang tell Om the thugs are beating every student in the school to force them to join. Om knows what being a leader means now and tells them he will handle it. He goes to find Tor, planning to talk him out of it. He sneaks all the way to their hideout, and they grab him the second he arrives. Vivi knows immediately that he is in trouble and goes after him, and Kiao grabs an iron bar and charges in to help. He runs straight at the gang, trips over his own feet, and lands flat on the floor. He gets up, ignores the laughing, and plants himself in front of Vivi to protect her, which is the bravest, useless thing anyone in this school has ever done. Vivi and Om fight Tor together. There is a moment where she thinks Om is too weak and is about to run, and instead he stays. And then the door opens, and an enormous wrestler walks in. The gang swarms him, and it does not matter at all. His strength is not normal. He goes through all of them, and Om and Vivi step back and let him get on with it. The wrestler takes the whole gang apart, then goes after Tor personally. Everyone expects a heavy man to be slow, and he is not. He slips every punch, launches into the air, and comes down on Tor's head, and it ends in a single second. Then he turns and looks at Om and his friends, and all of them reach the same conclusion at once. They run. They regroup at the old warehouse to work out a plan. Kiao has an idea. They ambush the thugs and the idol gang into running at each other, let the two of them tear each other apart, and once only a handful are left standing, Om's group walks in and finishes it. Everyone likes the plan, everyone except Mu, who refuses, because Prem is his friend and they have a treaty. He takes Om aside and asks him not to do this. He tells him that if he throws the idol gang under a bus after making peace with them, he becomes a traitor and nobody will ever trust him again. It lands hard, and Om feels sick about it, and he still tells his friend there is no other way. His friend walks out on him. Om sits there completely lost. Vivi finds him and he tells her the truth, which is that he is not up to this and regrets ever becoming a leader because he cannot protect anyone. She tells him he is kind and brave and that he should go and talk to his friend because his friend will forgive him. So he does. He puts on a disguise, goes to the restaurant, and apologizes for shouting. He promises he will come up with a new plan and will not put the idol gang in danger. His friend believes him, and the two of them are all right again. Meanwhile, Offie is training with his new team, and it is nothing like what he imagined. They treat him like any other player and shout at him when he loses a round. Then Ploy asks him to leave the school gang behind and commit fully to the tournament. He does not want to abandon his friends, so he asks her for time to think. He goes to see the others with pizza and tells them he has made real money from gaming. What he does not tell them is that he is considering leaving school entirely. Then Kiao pulls out a ring and announces he is finally going to propose. Ohm is the only one with nothing, because the girl he wants is with somebody else. He decides to try one last time, and before he can get a word out, she hands him her phone and asks him to take a photo of her to send to Ken. She looks so happy that he swallows every word and decides her happiness matters more than his. Later, he goes with her to deliver a food order, and outside the house he sees Ken walking with another girl. He knows exactly what he is looking at, and he cannot bring himself to break her heart, so he steps in front of her and blocks her view until they are passed. That night he goes home and finds his friends waiting to hear what he is going to do about the thugs. He tells them the plan has changed, and they are going to work with the idol gang. Moo is so relieved he thanks him. The next day they go to meet Prem, and something is very wrong. One of his members has been beaten and his whole gang is convinced Ohm did it. He cancels the treaty. Ohm tries to explain that the thugs must have set them up, and Prem does not believe a word, because somebody has sent him a recording that makes Ohm sound like a traitor who planned this from the beginning. He warns them that if they come near his gang again, they will regret it, and leaves. Ohm goes back to his friends with nothing. He tells them they are going to have to stand on their own and fight the thugs themselves. Kiao refuses. He says he is not about to get himself killed and suggests they just leave the school. Ohm accuses him of abandoning him after everything, and the two of them go at each other until they are both on the ground swinging. It is Offie who pulls them apart. He tells them with tears in his eyes that he had been ready to give up the tournament and stay with them. But after watching this, he has changed his mind. He is going. He walks away, and he does not look back. Ohm is left with nobody. He goes to train with Vivi at night and tells her everything. She listens, and she can tell something else is bothering him, and she sends Ken a message while they talk. Watching her do it, Ohm decides he cannot let her keep being lied to, and he tells her that Ken is cheating on her. She does not believe him. She thinks he is only saying it to break them up, and she hits him and tells him to stay out of her life. Then she leaves. Ohm sits there alone and cries. The next day at school, he learns the idol gang is coming for him. He goes to meet them by himself and tries to talk, tries to get the treaty back. Their leader refuses, orders his men to take him apart, and they rip the gang emblem off him and leave him on the ground. Then they go after the thugs instead, and the two gangs collide. That same day, Kiao goes to Fa's workshop to propose. He gets down, offers her the ring, and asks her to marry him. She tells him no. She tells him she does not love him and asks him to stay away and never come back. Then she walks off with Tor. Kiao is destroyed. He is certain she was playing him the whole time, and he has no way of knowing she did it because she was terrified of what the thugs would do to him if she said yes. He sits down on the floor of the workshop and cries. Days go by. Ohm has lost everyone. He tries to reach out and make peace, and nobody answers him. Back in class, Vivi looks straight through him. Then his teacher announces an invention competition with a first prize of $100,000. Ohm's hand goes up before he has finished thinking about it. That money could change his life, and everyone else's. Moo goes to the idol gang and asks to join, and Prem welcomes him. He asks Prem to take Kiao and the others as well so they will be safe, and Prem refuses because he only accepts students who can fight, so Moo goes off to train alone. Kiao goes home to an empty apartment and sits there remembering every stupid thing the four of them ever did together, eating alone and wishing he could go back and never leave the village. The next day, Vivi notices the way Ken keeps hiding his phone. He walks her out of the restaurant, and that is when the other girl appears. She is furious at seeing him with Vivi and comes at her with a stick, and Ohm gets there first and takes the hit with his own body. Vivi sees the whole truth in that one moment. She turns on Ken and goes after him with a pen until his face is a mess, and she ends it right there.
Right away!
Then she takes Ohm back to her restaurant and apologizes for not believing him. Ohm tells her he was never angry, because as far as he is concerned, she is the most important person in his life. Just like that, the two of them are close again. He takes her to see what he has been building. It is an arm brace designed to protect weaker students and defend them against bullies. Vivi loves the idea and tells him to keep going. Afterwards, they go to a sweet shop to lift his mood, and Ohm sees a face he has been looking for his entire life. Ek Ek sees him and runs. Ohm chases him through the streets, catches him, and asks why he would do that, and Ek tells him the truth. He had been lying to all of them for years so they would be proud of him. He never got into college. He has been working part-time jobs ever since just to stay alive, and he stopped going home because he could not stand the idea of the village calling him a failure. It breaks Ohm's heart. He tells Ek he is not going anywhere, that he is going to support him, and that this is not how the story ends. Ek cries and apologizes, and finally agrees to go home to the village. A week later, the invention competition begins. Ohm explains his idea to the judges, a device shaped to fit over the hand, built to protect students who cannot protect themselves. They love it, and he takes the highest score in the room, with Vivi standing to the side telling him she is proud of him. Afterwards, she takes him to the warehouse and asks whether there is anything he would say to his friends if he had the chance. So he says it. He talks about the village, about the 4 of them by the river, about how they were never really just friends, they were brothers who never once left him. He says he hates himself for fighting with them and hopes they can forgive him. Then the doors open and his friends walk in because Vivi had arranged for all of them to be hiding there listening the whole time. They tell him they were never really angry. Ohm grabs all of them at once. The whole thing is forgotten, and they go to the restaurant together like nothing ever happened. While they are sitting there, Offie's phone rings and he does not pick up. He tells them he is done with the tournament team because the pressure has taken away everything he loved about playing. The next day, he explains it to Ploy, and she is not angry at all. She respects it and tells him he can call her any time. Then he goes back and tells his old team he is playing with them again. Around the same time, Kiao runs into Fa at the restaurant. He apologizes for the way he spoke to her and slowly works out the real reason she turned him down. She was protecting him. Then his jealousy gets the better of him because he keeps seeing her near Tor, and he storms into her workshop and warns her that if she stands with that leader, he will break her bike himself. Meanwhile, Tor makes his move. He walks into the school and destroys Ohm's invention. When Ohm finds it, everything drains out of him. Months of work, the competition, the money, all of it gone. Kiao is ready to go after the thugs on the spot, and his friends have to hold him back. Ohm just sits there, and Vivi takes his hand and stays with him. The thugs do not stop there. That night they ambush Prem, and they seriously underestimate what they are walking into. He goes through a huge number of them before one of them catches him from behind and puts him on the ground. Tor stands over him laughing, convinced nobody left in the school can stop him. The next morning, he walks in to take over completely. Ohm and his friends line up to stop him, and their numbers look painfully small. And then every single student the thugs have beaten over the past weeks walks out and stands behind Ohm, freeing the school caretaker on the way in. Ohm looks at all of them and feels the strength come back. Vivi has worked out a plan and pulls him aside to explain it, and they agree to run it. Then he walks her home, and somewhere on the way she stops fighting how she feels about him. Before she goes inside, she kisses him on the cheek and thanks him for always being there. The next day, Tor gathers the entire school and climbs onto the stage. He tells them his gang is now the strongest in the school, that every one of them is going to pay him money, and that anyone who refuses gets beaten. The students stand there with no choice, and then Ohm and his friends walk in and the plan starts. They scatter and hide in different parts of the school to split the gang up and draw them out in small groups, and it works exactly the way Vivi said it would. Kiao has coated an entire corridor with something sticky, and once the thugs are stuck in it, he goes through them one at a time. Offie sets an ambush of his own and takes out a huge number of them until there is nobody left but Tor. He wants Ohm one-on-one. Ohm is more worried about Vivi than himself and asks her to let him take it, promising he will protect her no matter what happens. Then he charges in, using everything she taught him. The leader is stronger. He slips everything Ohm throws, buries a kick in his stomach, and drops him. He walks over to finish it, and Vivi steps in and pushes him back. She goes at him with everything she has, and for the first time it is not enough. He absorbs it. He gets hold of her arm and is close to breaking it when Ohm gets back up and reaches her, and then it turns into something else entirely. Ohm starts moving with her the way he did in the warehouse, catching her, lifting her, turning her, and everything they built for a dance competition becomes a way to fight. She strikes with her legs while he takes her weight. They stop trying to overpower Tor and start reading him instead, slipping his hits and countering every time he opens up. Tor starts to slow, then he starts to stagger, and Ohm keeps coming, hitting him harder and harder for every friend on the floor and every student in that school, until Tor goes down and does not get back up. It is over. Ohm looks around at his friends and at the entire school watching and tells them the old rules are finished. No more fighting, no more bullying. From now on, everyone here gets to study in peace. The whole school erupts and starts chanting his name. On his way out, he finds Prem waiting for him, still bandaged. He apologizes for everything he did and everything he believed, thanks Ohm for what he did to the thugs, and promises that if Ohm ever needs him, he will be there. A month goes by. Ohm rebuilds his invention, and this time it is better. He sells it, enters the competition, and takes first place. Just like that, a boy from a village nobody has heard of is a millionaire. He puts the money straight back into the school. He builds a huge playground and sets up a club where anyone who wants to learn to fight can do it properly, safely, and in the open. He walks through the halls now and people greet him from every direction, because to all of them, he is their leader. Then he goes to find Vivi, and this time, nothing interrupts him. He tells her everything he has been holding on to for months. She takes his hand, and she is the one who offers to be his girlfriend. She is embarrassed the entire way through it, and she says yes, and the two of them walk off together. When exams finish, the four of them decide to go back to the village, to stand in front of everyone who laughed at them and show them exactly who they turned out to be. They bring Vivi with them to introduce her to their families. When they arrive, the whole village is waiting at the road, cheering. To every person standing there, these boys are the pride of the village. They sit down by the same river where they once said their dreams out loud, and they make one more promise, that they are going into university together, all of them, side by side. And that is where the story ends. So the moral of the story is, if you're filling out a school application, double-check the spelling, or you might accidentally earn a girlfriend, a gang, and $1 million instead of a diploma.